Coming up on Tekzilla, the $2 tripod, steady your camera anywhere for practically no money. Pocket HD camcorders, how good is a $200 HD video camera? Your Windows Home server questions, Veronica's looking for cantennas, and power tools. Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by Squarespace, GoDaddy.com, and Netflix.com. Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the best of the tech you already own. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
And I'm going to put the power tool down.
Thank you. Yes, whether you're a beginner or someone who's been around the technology block a few times, if you've got a question about your PC, Mac, Internet, HD TV, we've got an answer for you.
As a matter of fact, we'll pretty much answer any question about any technology, and if we don't know, we'll track down people who do.
So I was over at Eileen's desk earlier, and along with Serafina and Roger, and we were all watching the Numa Numa song done in Japanese.
What a fine use of productivity and enhancing of shareholder value here at Revision 3.
Shut your mouth. So we're thinking about doing an entire video based around the song, but using our exercise balls. What do you think about that?
I think The Office is surreal enough. For anybody who hasn't actually had coworkers with the exercise ball, I've used one at home occasionally, but there's something really funny about seeing half of The Office sitting at their desk like this.
Well, Serafina's the only one who actively bounces on her ball
actually,
at
one point, everybody was bouncing actively.
I like to do little, you do kind of like hula bounces around. It gets you nice and, core strengthening. Got to do the core strengthening.
We can put that on the to-do list. Speaking of which, what's with you searching on Twitter about cantennas?
Oh yes, the cantennas. Those got a lot of responses, by the way. Well, one of our viewers asked about making a cantenna and how it would work with his wireless N router, which we'll get to later, by the way. Not router, card. And
right.
He wanted to know about it, so I wanted to know if anyone out there had actually built one. And then everyone was like, well, why don't you just ask Patrick, because he built one on System, and Kevin Rose built one on Attack the Show, and pretty much everyone you know has built one, so why are you being a dumbass and asking Twitter about it? And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't get a chance to watch every single episode of System, okay?
Well,
but, so now you have worked with one in the past?
Well, actually, I've built several. We did, back in April of 2008, we did 3 homebrew DIY cantennas on System. I've done, let's not even open this. If you guys are curious about basically modifying N routers versus modifying B and G Wi-Fi routers and cantennas, kick us some emails, tekzilla@revision3.com, and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely, yeah. I was very curious about that one. It sounds like a great idea.
It's fun, except when it's not.
You can buy them, too.
Yes.
We'll get to that later, though.
And though,
Yeah, so Zach had some issues with enjoying YouTube's HD video content. Take it away, Zach.
Hey Tekzilla, I have a SATA 2 hard drive, an E7200 CPU, an ATI HD 3870 video card, and 2 GB of RAM. And yet, HD videos still lag on YouTube. Why is that?
So Zach has an issue with YouTube HD playback on his machine. His PC specs, though, seem pretty capable. He's got an Intel Core 2 Duo, an ATI Radeon HD 3870 graphics card, 2 GB of DDR2 RAM. Yeah, the hardware looks decent.
I was actually shocked because, apparently I don't spend enough time up on the YouTubes, because even when I hit the HD button, I still get, video from 1974 that looks like crap. And Roger's like, oh, look at this video. And he shows me the Office Attack video. Have you seen this?
The Office Attack video.
We'll put a link to it in the show notes. It's ridiculous. It's the most amazing, anyhow.
Have you seen Cats Inspired by Cats?
No.
Go watch Cats Inspired by Cats.
Well, apparently we do spend a little bit of time on the YouTubes, but the thing was, though, it's like, okay, so we finally found some, I'm like, okay, so there is some HD content on YouTube, but there is no reason it should be challenging a machine with those specs.
Right.
Unless you're running 32 other applications at the time, or, well, there's some interesting stuff, like the video encode could be screwed up. Your roommate could be downloading 49,000 gigabytes of porn while you're trying to do stuff.
You know that roommate of yours.
Everybody's
We're trying to warn him.
Oh my goodness. Network server congestion at the mothership up at YouTube maybe. That one's a little thin. Google, they got the bandwidth in the servers.
Something I've noticed, I've had a lot of trouble playing YouTube videos when I'm using Firefox.
Really?
I don't know why. I don't know why that's happening, but I've noticed ever since I switched over to Camino, I haven't had these problems anymore. It was very, it wasn't just HD video though, it was YouTube videos across the board. I would get a lot of it would freeze for a second, you know, kind of lag stuff, kind of buffering issues. Yeah, and it was driving me insane. I couldn't figure out what it was. And then Ryan was actually having the very same problem.
Right.
And when he would be in Firefox, the YouTube videos wouldn't play right. And I've heard a few other people say the same thing.
What if
I
this
don't
is
know
part
what
of
the
the whole
deal is.
memory leak, you know, resources issues that a
No
lot of people
idea.
have?
I'm going to look into that a little bit more though, because I have a feeling that there's probably some answers out there if we dig deep. Other solutions though for you: download the video using a service like keepvid.com or third-party app to save clips to the desktop and then watch them there. That way at least you won't have, you'll know that the problems aren't on the mothership side.
If you're curious if your machine's got more than enough oomph to actually play the YouTube vids, go to the QuickTime trailer collection.
Yes.
And download, just start with a 480p or a 720p. 1080p video, those huge, amazingly encoded 1080p videos kick the ass out of even the most top-of-the-end systems. But if you can play a 720p or 480p video on the iTunes trailer site, then you should be having no problems with your machine playing back stuff off of YouTube or any other video site on the web.
Yeah, might I recommend the Watchmen trailer? It's awesome.
It's coming in March.
Yes.
We're excited.
Anyhow, if you want to get your 15 seconds of internet fame, send us in a video. All you need to do is record yourself in front of a video camera asking a question no longer than 15 seconds. Then upload them to the YouTubes. Hopefully it'll work okay for you. And email us a link with video question in the subject line. And remember, no attachments.
Hey, Veronica?
Yeah.
Do you want to know how to make a tripod for like $2?
Yeah.
Okay, this is great. You're going to love this. It's really easy. It's really stupid looking, but it really looks.
I was wondering why you were so high energy today. You've been chugging Diet Coke to make these tripods all day, haven't you?
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't realize, so tripod, basically the little bolt in the bottom of your camera, or the little hole for your tripod in the bottom of your camera, is a 1/4 inch by 20 threads per inch, which is your basic common cheap piece of hardware.
Okay.
So all you need is a 1/4 inch by 20 threads per inch bolt or nut, and a couple of nuts to go along with that. You can get a wing nut and a regular nut if you're fancy. And you need, what you really need is the lid. And you can put the lid with the bolt on it in your pocket, and you're gonna need a drill.
Power
with a
tool
1/4 inch
time.
bit. Yeah, so we already tapped this, and we've got a little hole there. I should point out there's one important thing you're also gonna need that we don't have on this table, which is additional water to put inside of this. Because if you try to put it on an empty Coke bottle,
boop.
yeah, it'd be bad. There'd be horrible crunching sounds.
So which do you recommend more, the 20 fluid ounce or the 1 liter bottle?
Depends on how heavy your camera is. The 1 liter bottles are going to be a little steadier because they have a little more mass to them and a wider base.
Could you fill these with sand?
You could.
Also, if you wanted to?
But then you'd have to carry around. What's cool about...
Then you have to carry around a bottle full of sand.
Well,
all
if you
day.
put one of these, what's interesting, right, is this thing is so small, and I should show you, like, so you've got the one bolt, basically you bolt it down to the lid, and you put the second bolt on, and the second bolt basically just allows you to secure it to the camera. So you turn the camera on there, and then this is your lock nut on the camera. So you can put that one on that one, and I'm going to show people something on this one real quick. What's interesting about these is kind of one of the big things is where the center of gravity on your camera is. So this one's actually, the camera's so light on this one, well, kind of, right? But if we put it on here, it also helps not, you know, do this really fast so you end up with a angled.
Yeah, be a little careful when you're drilling the holes and putting the screws in.
But basically, you now have sort of an instant tripod.
That's amazing.
It's also actually, I think it came off the Instructables originally. I was watching somebody build one of these the other day, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. But it's a really easy way, and if you basically just take this part and you drop the very nice pocket HD camcorder, you basically just keep this part in your pocket, and then if you find yourself like you're at a party, you're, you know, at the fair, you randomly want to stand up and do a, you know, take somewhere without holding the camera yourself.
Because we do that all the time. That's actually...
I hear you practicing in your cube.
That's how I got this job. I was just at the county fair doing a stand-up with a Coke bottle in
with
front
your Coke
of
bottle tripod.
the horse tents.
But basically you go out, you buy a soda, you grab your little cap, you screw it onto the soda bottle, and you are good to go.
Voila.
Voila.
Very, very nice.
So.
That's cool. And hey, speaking of these little guys, coming up, we've got some reviews of our favorite Pocket HD cameras. But first, we want to take the time now to thank one of today's sponsors, Squarespace. And here to tell you more about them is Revision 3 intern extraordinaire, Tyler.
Hey Tekzilla fans, I'm Tyler Howarth, an intern here at Revision 3, and I'm here to talk about Squarespace. I'm sure you've all heard about Squarespace's excellent WYSIWYG editor, their fancy templates, their excellent customer service, the list goes on and on. But did you know that plenty of large-scale sites use Squarespace as well? Kevin Rose, Sarah Lane, Alex Albrecht. Mark Echo even uses Squarespace to host and serve his content. That's because Squarespace is built to scale. Kevin Rose's blog has hit the front page of Dig multiple times, and Squarespace hosting holds up in the most frightening amount of traffic. Every Squarespace site, even the lowest level, is built to scale and will never go down because of surges in traffic. It helps me sleep at night knowing that my personal site will always be up and live on the interwebs just how it should be. Because Squarespace is cool and down with the Zilla, they're giving fans 10% off of the life of their membership. Just use the promo code TEKZ when you sign up for your account. So remember, for all your website needs, check out Squarespace.
Welcome to this week's Freebie Download Pick, a free program that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. This week's pick, Wind Patrol. While Windows can be considered one of the most successful operating systems ever, it's by no means perfect. There are plenty of things that need tweaking inside of Windows, and unfortunately, they usually require umpteen different applications to do them all. Thankfully, there's Wind Patrol. This handy little program lets you perform a multitude of PC maintenance tasks through its simple user interface. Internet Explorer cookie filters, file type associations, hidden file viewer, startup program management, delayed start program tool. It actually lets you delay the starting of certain apps to speed up boot times. I think you get the idea. There's just so much you can do and not enough words or time to describe them all right now. So if you need a better tool for Windows maintenance, do yourself a favor, give Wind Patrol a spin. All right, we got Pocket HD camcorders.
Yay.
We've both been playing around with these. You were like all over these today. You get excited about HD camcorders.
I do. I have the Mino HD at home, and I use it quite often. So I was excited to get to see some other ones. I haven't played with these too much outside of the office.
So we've got the Creative Vado HD. We just held up the Flip Mino HD, and this is the Kodak ZI6. They actually have more in common than they have in difference in a lot of ways. They're all about $200 ready to use. They're super small compared to a regular camcorder, which also means they're kind of hard to hold steady, which is why I see so much shaky vision coming off of these.
Use your water-based monopod.
Yes, kind of the reason I started thinking about that. And they're all 720p, so they're basically 1280 horizontal by 720 vertical, 30 frames per second. The Kodak also adds in a 60 frame per second mode. All of them have 2x digital zoom, basically blow up pixels. It's not an optical zoom, which means meh. None of them are great in low light situations. They all love sun and bright light. The Kodak and the Flip both use H.264 video. The Creative Vado actually does everything in AVI as it moves it onto your system. Now, something really cool about the Kodak, actually, having run out of batteries, sort of rechargeable batteries, is it will work with any set of AA's. Comes with a pair of rechargeables in the box, which is really nice. The Creative and the Flip both charge off of USB, and it's always helpful to hit the USB button instead of the power button. And you and I were arguing about this before. I actually like I think we refer to it as the wah-wah floppy USB connector.
Yeah, I like the one on the Mino a little bit better, just because I have mine on the Belkin elevator for laptops for my MacBook Pro. It just plugs right in the side. It doesn't wobble around. It holds pretty steady. So it's always worked okay for me. Plus, I have a few external USB adapters that I can use as well if I need to.
All three of them really desperately need, especially if your USB ports are kind of in an out-of-the-way place, a USB extension. I actually like the floppy connector because I think it's less likely to actually damage your USB port.
True.
I also knew somebody who actually had somebody drop an Encyclopedia Britannica through something hanging out of their USB port and tear up their motherboard.
That's awful.
Yes, it was actually. They all include basic editing and updating tools. Well, let's start with kind of like the old hand of the industry. Pure Digital is the name of the company. The Flip HD is their latest pocket camcorder. Shiny black means fingerprints, which I am rallying against because I find it annoying. The tiny monitor, it's the smallest monitor of the three, which is kind of frustrating to shoot with. It also letterboxes your video, which really sucks when you're doing 720 16:9 video. 60 minutes record time and not a user replaceable battery, which means once you've got 60 minutes of video of this, if you're not traveling around with a computer, you're done shooting for the day.
I have to say though, I've had that particular device in my bag for probably 2 or 3 months, and I've not had to charge it once.
Yes.
Just to pull out and use for a couple minutes of video, and download it somewhere. I haven't actually plugged it in and charged it for an extended period forever, and the battery is still like basically full. It's insane.
It's perfect for that. It's not so perfect if you're like going to Disneyland for the day.
True, right. I mean, then you're going to use up a lot more battery life and record time.
So the Kodak ZI6 sells for $155, which sounds really cheap. We'll explain why it's so cheap. It's the biggest of the three by a long shot. It's got a 2.4-inch LCD, which is awesome for shooting. It's much easier in the hand compared to the other two. It's a little big in your pocket. Lots of space in that case means it feels a little bit cheaper than the other three. So one of the other reasons the case is so big is because it's got an SD card slot. Now it'll take a 32 gigabyte SD card max, so it'll take a huge SD card, but it doesn't ship with the card. There's only 128 megabytes on board out of the box, which means you have 30 megabytes for video, which is 36 seconds of 720 video.
Why would they do that?
Well, because it makes it really, really cheap to buy in the store. And you know, like a 2 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte card selling for like $9 to $20, depending on where you're shopping these days. Creative Vado HD, $230, kind of pricey. Very easy to use controls, a bigger monitor than the Mino HD, which is really nice. And it does HDMI out to your HD TV with an adapter cable that comes in the box. 2 hours of record time on board, which is nice. And like we talked about before, it does have a user replaceable battery, which is also nice.
So most importantly, what about the video quality?
All right, Flip Mino HD, best video of the trio. It's kind of the most nuanced, especially in dealing with exposure changes, like if you're, you know, going from the sunny part of the room to the dark part of the room, and the most true life color. The Vado and the Kodak seem kind of oversaturated, almost fake. Great job with audio, best of the three by far. The Creative Vado, almost as good as the Flip Mino HD video, and you were actually pretty excited about this. It's got a very flat lens. It kind of has the shortest lens of the bunch, so it's got the widest field of visions, which means like if you like to shoot inside of your car, this is your camera.
It's almost like a wide angle lens
Absolutely.
built into it for sure.
Especially compared to the Kodak. Which has kind of the longest lens of the three. The Vado, the digital zoom, is unusable if you rack it all the way in, and it seems kind of slow. It seems like it needs a firmware update because it takes forever to adjust exposure from bright to dark to bright. And surprisingly, Creative is an audio company. The audio is the weakest of the three on this.
Really?
Yes.
Probably keep green.
We'll see what green looks like on each one of these cameras.
It's probably keep green.
We'll see what green looks like on each one of these cameras.
It's probably keep green.
We'll see what green looks like on each one of these cameras.
That's pretty shocking because I've always liked Creative audio devices.
Yeah, it's just, it seems like they just didn't.
Yeah, didn't mesh well in this one.
Kodak ZI6, the longest lens of the three, so if you're thinking outdoors, soccer, getting your whole, you know, videotaping the kids a baseball thing on, best digital zoom of the three, and that's like being sort of the best of the, you know, you know what I'm saying here. And the least accurate color though, the audio feels kind of squashed, not as bad as the Vado, but not as good as the Mino. So that said, if the Flip is 100%, the Kodak is still like 80% of its video quality, the Vado's at 95%. I just wish the Vado's audio was better.
So which of the three would you carry around in your pocket to use day to day?
If, like, the Kodak is the most day at the amusement park friendly, if you want to record a whole bunch of video without having to constantly run to a notebook computer, the Kodak is your friend. Just keep throwing SD cards into it and AA batteries and you're good to go for hours and hours. The Flip is the best video, and if you want to have a camera on you to take that video of the celebrity instantly, this is your go-to camera.
And that is my ultimate goal. To videotape celebrities the second I see them.
Yeah, I mean, the only downside, it's got the least amount, it only has an hour of video, and you can't replace the battery.
I don't see many celebrities, so it'll work out just fine.
But we did love the video quality in this one, the best.
So go forth and get your YouTube on. Maybe use one to send us a video question. I keep pushing them. I gotta keep pushing you guys.
More video questions. And props to Mao, our editor, one of our editors here at Vision 3, for getting hands-on with all these. He is quite the mini camera maven, and he actually had a lot of fun coming up with tests to hurt these cameras one by one.
It's time now for our Netflix-sponsored movie pick of the week, and this week it's Bottle Shock. If you consider yourself a wine connoisseur or just love movies about wine, then Bottle Shock is for you. A dramedy, Bottle Shock tells the real story of how vintners from Northern California bested their French rivals in the Judgment of Paris wine tasting competition in 1976.
USA!
Woohoo! Featuring Alan Rickman, Bill Pullman, and the always lovely Rachel Taylor. So put Bottle Shock in your queue today. And don't forget to check out the other 90,000 titles available at Netflix, including lots of Blu-ray titles for free shipping both ways to your home. And because they now have over 40 shipping centers, almost all deliveries happen in just one business day. The Netflix plans start from $4.99, but as a new member, you can get a no-risk 2-week free trial membership. Check it out at www.netflix.com/Tekzilla, and don't forget those dubs. Welcome to another edition of Websites We Just Can't Get Enough Of, a website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn... Wait, what's the word? I think it starts with an I, but I can't remember the rest of it. Luckily, we found Tip of My Tongue, a web app that helps you find the word that you just can't quite spit out. There are a couple of really intuitive ways to figure it out. In the first column here at the left, you can fill in any letters that you remember. Let's see, we know there's an I in there, and I'm pretty sure that it ends in able. No, that's not it. Let's try eyeball. Irresistible, that's it. Moving on, if you remember what letters are in the word, but you're not sure where they all fit together, try the word scramble. Or if you know other terms that your word is like, try the word meaning field. Now, this isn't the be-all, end-all collection of all words known to humankind, and the creator is still working to add more dictionaries and functionality to the site. And believe me, you'll be praising his name when this app helps you remember the word you've been trying to think of for hours. Visit Tip of My Tongue today.
It's time for the final installment of the Windows Home Server Challenge, brought to you by the HP MediaSmart Server, which is powered by Microsoft Windows Home Server. All right, we're supposed to be doing benchmarks of our builds versus the HP MediaSmart box, but we got a ton of questions from people out there. Shall we start with Philip?
Yes, let's start with Philip. He actually wrote in and he asked, I've got a Mac and 4 PCs on my home network. I've been frustrated with creating a single iTunes library that is centrally located and accessible on all my machines. Is Windows Home Server, and specifically the HP MediaSmart Home Server, a fix for this problem?
Philip in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, iTunes sharing, or kind of streaming of those shared files.
Easy to stream files all over your network. No problem. Just turn on sharing, you're done. Making a central iTunes collection you can manage, say, add songs to from any machine in your network, a little more difficult. Only one instance of iTunes will be able to make changes to that library at a time, and you're going to need to close that iTunes on the computer you were making changes on to muck with their library on another computer. Step 1, create a giant folder with all your music in it. Step 2, put that music on a shared drive that all your machines have access to. Doesn't matter what that shared drive is on, just as long as all your machines have access to it. Step 3, you got to point iTunes on that library when you launch it. It's not that hard. Launch iTunes on OS X while holding down the Option key, or while holding down Shift on Windows, and select the network drive with your new common library. You can do this on any Windows Home Server. You just don't have to build it yourself if you go the HP MediaSmart route.
All right, next we have a question from Martin in Alabama. He writes, my parents and brothers have broadband connections. I'm interested in replicating some of the content in my Windows Home Server to their home for redundancy. If I build out a few Windows Home servers and give them one to each of my family members, can I then back up some of my data across the wire to the Windows Home Server I sent to them? It seems kind of complicated, Martin, but yes, you can. Now, the thing you have to do is you're going to actually kind of manually remote access into those boxes individually and transfer those files.
Yeah, as far as we know, there's no like control panel where you can be like, send these files to there and send these files to there. Basically, you're going to have to remote access manually through the Windows or through the browser interface and drag and drop.
Yeah, so depending on what your connection is, this can take, depending on how much data you have, that can take a short amount of time or a lot of time.
Yeah.
But it can be done, but you will have to do it manually.
Jimmy writes in, does the Windows Home Server support RAID 1 within the OS itself? Jimmy. Actually, no. Windows Home Server does not support any kind of RAID in the operating system software, but if you have built-in RAID 1 support on the motherboard or some kind of hardware RAID 1 setup, it should work just fine.
Yes, as long as it's seen as a logical drive unit, it doesn't matter if it's an array or a single drive, it will work. Of course, you know, if you do want the RAID redundancy, you do need to go with a RAID setup in the motherboard again and hardware.
One last question?
Yes, we should.
I went from using FreeNAS to using Windows Home Server, mostly for getting movies to my Xbox 360 and as a Mega NAS server. Mega NAS, I like that. Sounds like something that Cartman would build. Is there a way to get all my drives added to the server storage in Windows Home Server console without formatting them? Kim from Denmark.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so this is the one issue I actually do have with Windows Home Server, besides a few of the minor aesthetic ones, is that you actually do need to format each of those drives. within Windows Home Server in order to get it to be accessed by Windows Home Server as a Windows Home Server
The
file.
Windows Home Server storage pool.
Yes, because
you keep throwing drives at it, and it basically keeps extending the storage area across all those drives.
now if you just plugged it in, it will see it as an extra drive, but it won't be part of that storage pool that Windows Home Server stores and pulls data from.
But yeah, if you are adding it to the storage pool, they get formatted, so you need to back the data off first, then join the storage pool, then move the data on there. So next week's show, I will have the Windows Home Server benchmarks. I'll hopefully add in some Drobo benchmarks, try to get the Ubuntu, but we're also going to be talking about basically the network speeds we're getting and some of the differences, some of the real world differences we're finding between 100 base T and gigabit Ethernet, basically 100 megabit per second Ethernet and gigabit Ethernet. It's actually kind of fascinating, at least if you're geeking out like me.
Cool.
Coming up, we got some viewer questions, but first a word from one of the sponsors that makes this show possible, GoDaddy.com. You want to make an impact online? GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names for as little as $1.99. That's cheap. Plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and quite a bit more. Your website visitors, prospects, customers, they are wary of websites and online businesses that aren't what they claim to be, and worry that their personal and financial information might fall into the wrong hands. Turn your visitors' concerns into a competitive advantage with the ironclad protection of a GoDaddy.com secure certificate. Now, you want to get a discount on that certificate or anything else you're buying at GoDaddy.com? Enter in the code TEK5, that's TEK5 when you check out. You'll score an additional $10 off any order of $40 or more. Some restrictions do apply. See the site for details. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com and help out Tekzilla when you're doing it by entering in the code TEK5, TEK5 when you check out.
Hey, I want to remind all of you out there in the Tekzilla audience to check out my custom tea blend at adagio.com/Tekzilla, Veronica's Berry Zinger with my magical blend of taste and refreshment. Adagio also has teapots, teaware, and other unique loose leaf teas. So check them out at www.adagio.com/Tekzilla. So you know how in the last week's show we mentioned the multiple inboxes within Gmail, and I said it was kind of lame? I feel a little bit bad now because one of our viewers wrote in about that comment, and here's what he had to say. The biggest gripe about the new multiple inbox feature is the inability to use the inboxes for different email accounts. I have a bit of a kludge that almost makes Gmail work the way people want.
Ooh.
1, I set up an inbox for the following search, 2:is::unread. I create a filter for 2:, and set it to skip the main inbox. With these two settings, new mail to my other account bypasses the main inbox and appears in its very own inbox.
Oh, nice hack, Paul.
Yeah, that works. You know, I tried that today, and I just hate the way it looks. I hate it. I'm sorry. I hate it. I'm resistant to change. My Gmail is like the one thing that I stare at for probably 16 hours a day, and to have it suddenly be all like wonky and weird and things over there, and I get very uncomfortable. I'm a creature of habit. I'm a Cancer. I like things to be the same. Anyhow, thank you for the suggestion.
You're a Cancer too?
Huh?
You're a Cancer too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much everyone I know is a Cancer.
We're homemakers. All right, last question of the show, and actually one of my favorite questions because batteries are a wicked ripping pain in the you-know-what to get rid of. Mark, Cheyenne, Wyoming. Oh boy, it's really going to be a wicked ripping pain in the ass where you're living, brother. He writes in, I know how many stores take cell phone batteries, but what is the proper way to recycle alkalines and other electronic items? Mark in Wyoming.
Yeah, kind of super easy for us in San Francisco because there's a lot of big name chains and they've all got these crazy green recycling programs.
I think between here and Market Street, there's probably 4 different green operations that are into recycling electronics. Our local Goodwill accept electronics. Interesting thought. Traditional alkaline batteries, there were complaints about mercury possibly getting into the water table. So Duracell, for example, and I believe Energizer also have eliminated mercury from the batteries. So in theory, according to federal law, it is okay to put those in a landfill. The side note to that is it's actually really hard to find places to recycle alkaline batteries even here in San Francisco. We can do it, but it takes a little bit of work. You're going to have to search around. You're going to have to search around, spend time on the web, because rechargeable batteries, easy to recycle because there's lots of expensive metals inside of those that manufacturers want to reuse. So almost anywhere you can buy electronics, they'll recycle the batteries. If not, there are places you can actually send them to that'll recycle them. Alkalines, not so much, and consumer electronics can be, despite the fact there's a lot of valuable metals, a lot of people don't want to go through collecting them. So the problem is you need to start by calling like whoever runs the local I would probably start with whoever collects your garbage.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one.
Check the local Radio Shack, check the local big box stores, do some searching on the web. The problem is there's no single universal answer for this, especially for alkaline batteries. Those are really hard to find a place to
It all kind of has to go with whoever is local to you and what their plans are, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, cell phones are easy to recycle.
Computer parts.
Computer parts are usually easy to recycle if somebody in your neighborhood does it. Otherwise, you get to pay to ship it somewhere. Dell, for example, if you got an old PC you want to recycle, when you buy a new PC, you can actually recycle with them for like 20 bucks. But generally speaking, there is no good hard and fast rule, especially for alkaline batteries. Those are tough to get rid of.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a guilt trip to throw them away.
That's why I have a big bag of them, and then I bring them into the office because we have a giant bucket because we use a lot of alkaline batteries that we recycle because we can't use rechargeable batteries in a lot of the devices we use in the studio. Speaking of guilt. The guilt. So at least we make sure we recycle them. Everybody watching, we love your questions. We live on your questions. We need your questions. So email us, Tekzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it, but we need those emails, Tekzilla@revision3.com.
Even better, send us in a video question. Think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload it to YouTube, and send us a link in an email with video question in the subject line. By popular demand, Burt Monroy is back with Pixel Perfect. Learn how to do really cool things to photos, art, and images in Photoshop, Illustrator, and other cool applications. You can catch full episodes every Monday at 12 noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. And as always, you can catch our forums at revision3.com/forum. Thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Till next week, you've been watching
Tekzilla. What are you doing?
Drilling holes in the set.
Stop it.
Why?
Because I said so.
I thought you were punk rock. Apparently not.
My nail polish is all chipped. That's punk rock.
Well, that is chipped for punk rock.
No! No!
I'm not going to drill it.
No, not funny. No. No.
Thought you wanted a piercing.
No. Meow, meow. Ooh, my belly button is dry.
Editing something that's
Like dry. Ow, it itches.
I know you're finally comfortable with me because you can pick your belly button in front of me now.
Oh.
Well, Josh,
Great.
as long as it's okay between you and your wife, or if you already have
That's
an open
private
relationship
talk,
and do
Josh.
practice safe sexual activity.
All right, that's enough.
Would you reach over and waggle the connector there?
Waggle, 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 waggle,
Probably
waggle,
not with
waggle,
your
waggle.
middle finger.
But it's the only one that's not chipped.
Oh.
Waggle, 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 waggle.
Tease it, tease it.
You're a rude man, Roger Chang. We should always shoot on Fridays.